It is time to bank on it. Bank on it. Brought to you by Commercial Bank. Commercial Bank, member FDIC. Life made better. Commercial Bank creates positive experiences for every customer every day with better solutions, better technology. Commercial Bank for personal and business. Commercial Bank, life made better. Right down below cbtn.com. I've been with them for over 20 years. You should too. Caleb, bank on it. You cannot give me 3 players as we break down the Wolfpack that would start for Tennessee. And I will be really honest, I purposely did not look at your story. There is one that I have in mind for sure. But after that, it gets intriguing. So let's go ahead and start off. I bet you can't convince me that there are 3 players from NC State's team that would be in Tennessee starting 22. Go with number 5 and let's count them down.
That's not even fair because I don't know if I can convince me, but all right, we'll go ahead and go. All right, so the 5 most important players for NC State against Tennessee on Saturday, the guys you need to watch. The first, Dave, I will say, you may say that, but I'm naming Justin Jolly, the tight end. Now, Tennessee did target Justin Jolly heavily in the offseason. He was the UConn transfer. They ended up not getting him because they got Holden Stays and Miles Kitselman, and Ethan Davis was going to turn into a starter. But they did want Justin Jolly. He had 56 catches for 578 yards last year. And in the opener for NC State, he had 5 catches for 75 yards. Look, Tennessee is still unproven in the secondary, particularly on the safety and nickel spots. And they're unproven in coverage at linebacker. You know, all the spots that are crucial to covering the tight ends. So they're going to have to keep an eye on Justin Jolly. That could be a mismatch if they're not careful.
I'm so high on Ethan Davis, I can't go there. You made a good argument. He could have been Tennessee's starter if Davis needed another year to develop, but I'm so high on him that he would be behind Davis, so I can't say that he would be a starter. Great argument, though. Caleb, number 4.
All right, number 4, Aiden White at cornerback. Aiden White was an all... He'd start. Yeah, he was an all-ACC cornerback last year. Tennessee's going to look his way. Tennessee's going to have to deal with him this year. And look, the question with Aiden White is we don't know if he's the type of cornerback that can stay with receivers down the sideline because we saw this with Georgia 2 years ago. If a cornerback can stay with the receiver on the outside down the sideline, that is the one thing that neutralizes Tennessee's passing offense more than anything else. And
agree with all that. I think he would start. Be sure, hey, take a second, hit that like button before we get to number 3 of the Wolfpack to watch. Well, by the way, I hate a singular name for a mascot like Wolfpack. The Wolfpack is, I hate writing that. Can't wait for this week to be over. But go ahead and hit like and subscribe now, and we'll get to number 3. It's Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life made better.
Absolutely. Number 3, Caleb, on the Wolfpack to watch.
Number 3, Davin Vann. And I'll just step up and say that he wouldn't start for Tennessee. And you don't have to convince me. He's a defensive end.
You're not even going to try, are you?
No. Okay. So NC State lost their biggest star on defense last year in Peyton Wilson, who had 17.5 tackles for a loss and 6 sacks. Dave, even with those numbers, I don't think he could start. Peyton Wilson could start on Tennessee because this is where they're so loaded at edge rusher. And Davin Vann had 7 tackles for a loss, 5.5 sacks. UT is still questionable on the offensive line with both Lance Hurd and John Campbell having made mistakes last week. So I do think Vann could test them from a matchup perspective from the other side. But that doesn't mean he'd start for Tennessee because that's just not possible. I don't know, but Dave, I'll just be honest though. You give me any depth chart in the country. I'm even including Georgia's. I don't know if their edge rusher could start for Tennessee.
I would agree with that.
So that's not even fair.
No, we'll see. I mean, I want to see Tyree West be consistent, right?
Yes, I do too.
Yeah. So, all right. Who's up next? There's one other that I feel certain would start for Tennessee, but let's get to him.
Kevin, his last name is not contraception, guys. It's Concepcion. Kevin
Concepcion, I've been told. There's more of an emphasis on the C. Somebody told me that.
Kevin Concepcion.
Yeah. Unlike the Concepcion that played for the Reds. Does anybody remember his name back in the day? I think it was David Concepcion. He is very Squirrel White-like. Had he followed the same path as Squirrel White, he would be a starter at Tennessee.
Hey now.
Yeah. Would he, even if Squirrel White were still on the roster, though, or would Squirrel White have to be off the roster?
I guess I'm pretending that he came in instead of Squirrel White. I'm reaching a little bit. Is that fair?
No, that's fair. And I think they're the same type of player. He's 5'11", 189. He had 71 catches for 839 yards last year. The crazy part, Dave, is he had 41 catches for 41 carries, for 321 yards last year. 10 total touchdowns. He's used on a lot of their misdirection horizontal run plays. You guys are going to ask me about this, and I'm going to tell you guys this up front because I close with this, but I might as well tell you guys this now. Jordan Waters, the NC State running back, many people say that he's a feature in this game. No, he's not. They're not going to be able to run the ball. That's one thing NC State won't be able to do. So if they're going to run the ball, it'll be on misdirection plays to Kevin Concepcion more than Jordan Waters.
Do you remember the G gun, Gerald Jones?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And then the Dolphins stole it and ran it the next year with Ronnie Brown.
Yeah, for those that don't recall it, that's when everything was going down the tubes for Tennessee in 2008, and they would line Gerald Jones up, a receiver, to try to manufacture some yards out of the shotgun. And we called it John Adams and I called it the G gun, and we made up a name for it on the radio. And Dave Clawson, the offensive coordinator, referred to it as that in the press conference the next day, which meant he was listening to our show, and we appreciate that. And I remember Philip Fulmer afterwards coming up to us and goes, "Who made up that G gun?" And I said, "Oh, it's John Adams." And I can't say what he said next. But my point is with Gerald Jones, Caleb, why did Tennessee have to do that? Because they didn't have enough playmakers elsewhere. In other words, if Tennessee didn't have Brew McCoy, if Tennessee didn't have Dante Thornton, if Tennessee didn't have those guys, they might have to make Squirrel White a do-everything guy. But he doesn't have to because they've got other players that play that position. It is, in my opinion, the biggest factor in this game, and I said it in my column, and we'll get to that. It's the biggest talent deficit that Tennessee has had since they played with Josh Heupel against a ranked team.
Biggest talent advantage.
Advantage. Yes. NC State. Yes. Biggest talent advantage. I misspoke. Would you agree with that?
No, I would absolutely agree with that. I would totally agree with that. And they typically, I'm talking myself into things. I said that NC State would be an ugly win for Tennessee at the outset of the year. I said they would, stumble, make some mistakes, and be like Pittsburgh when they're trying to figure things out. But the more we've talked in the week, Dave, you're really talking me out of that. You're talking me out of thinking it could be a convincing win for Tennessee. I'm not there yet. I got a day to do my picks, but something is telling me that this is going to be a little more different than we realize.
All right, I think it's a blowout. Who's your top guy?
All right, the top guy is Grayson McCall. Now, I get what people are saying, and you're right. It did stand out the way Heath talked about Grayson McCall, Heath Schuler, the way he spoke about him. But someone's got to get the ball to Concepcion, and as it was corrected, it's Jolie, not Jolly. I apologize. It is Justin Jolie. I try to get people's names right on this, and I hate when I don't. But it is Justin Jolie. McCall was a 5-year starter for the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, played under Jamie Chadwell, who Tennessee fans wanted to be hired a few years ago when Josh Heupel was hired. Jamie Chadwell is now at Liberty, having replaced Hugh Freeze. Tennessee fans also wanted Hugh Freeze hired after forcing out a guy for scandals. That would have been a terrible idea. But Grayson McCall is more mobile than people think. He can move in the pocket. There was 1 year where he had 260 yards rushing. He was 26 of 40 for 318 yards and 3 touchdowns last week. Did have an interception. I mean, the guy is a veteran, and he's got some weapons. And Tennessee, it ain't like that. It ain't like Tennessee has a great track record in the secondary the last 3 years, even though we think they're better this year. So, I mean, you got to put a quarterback that people believe in. You got to put him at the top of the list when Tennessee's facing them right now, right?
Yes, but I think he's extremely limited. Extremely limited.